Hey Mountaineer fans, after a year of being stuck at home, you deserve all the latest WVU gear, gifts, and apparel to show your Mountaineer pride. Our friends at the Book Exchange are offering 25% off with our promo code BX4 Final Four. Let's cheer on all of our Mountaineer athletes in gold and blue and support local business too. Shop online at bookexchangewv.com or at their downtown Morgantown or Evansdale locations. That promo code again is BX4 Final Four.
Recorded live in Morgantown, West by God, Virginia, and across the world, with your hosts, Kevin Jones, John Flowers, and our lovely co-host, Ashley. This is the Final Fourcast podcast.
Hey, it's another edition of the Final Fourcast with me, one of your co-hosts, Ashley. Got my boy Kevin Jones with us today.
You.
And John Flowers, who normally joins us, will not be with us today. He must have plans down there in Uruguay doing God knows what. He's probably in practice, honestly.
Nah, he doesn't care. Don't sugarcoat things. He doesn't care.
I just saw a video of him walking up a street that he posted to Instagram, so that's how little he cares
John,
for us.
I'm so disappointed.
I seen like him in a taxi or something with like a guy in a unicycle juggling. So I don't know what John is into right now. We'll just pray that he's alive.
Yeah, but it's we also have our producer Dave with us. Dave will probably be chiming in every once in a while. Maybe not.
Oh yeah,
right,
sorry. I thought you were just like glossing over me.
No,
I already spoke.
say
okay,
hi.
Never mind.
And of course, we have a very special guest today who will be filling in duties for John Flowers, the infamous Quincy Wilson.
Sir, good morning, man. Glad to have you on the show.
I'm glad I finally made it. I got it made, but I'm looking forward to it.
There we go. So what you've been up to, Quincy, I mean, obviously, we could go back and talk about all the great things you've done at WVU. I mean, 2003 season when we took down number 3 Virginia Tech. I mean, hello. And all the great Quincy Wilson run, which is still infamous to this day. But what have you been up to since then?
Well, I will say thank God for YouTube. It keeps me alive.
Yes.
That was pre-HD. So, the fact that anybody can remember that far back is pretty cool. But been into coaching. I'm into my 10th year of coaching. 4 years at WVU in the operations side. Liked it, but didn't like it. Wanted to actually coach. So jumped in at Glenville, did a year there, and now in the year 5 here at West Virginia State.
Nice,
Yeah.
Man.
Yes.
Yeah,
go ahead, Kev.
My bad. I was just gonna ask, what got you into coaching?
You know what? Never thought I would do it, but just a chance meeting. It's actually the year we won the Orange Bowl with Tavon and those guys down there, and Dana. It was their first year, and I was in sales, so just happened to go by the building and say, "Hey, appreciate you guys really kicked some butt," and introduce myself. And 3 months later, they called me for a job. So kind of just lucked into it, but never thought I'd be coaching college football, let alone coaching in general.
Yeah,
that's dope.
No doubt. So, I mean, I saw your record. You guys are doing pretty well down there at West Virginia State. So that's something to be proud of for sure.
Yeah, we of course, John Penton, who played at WU as well, is our head coach, and George Shell also. So we have it's that brotherhood. Back, and Kevin can speak to this. Some of my best friends in life now are my boys from college. Facts. So, those are the guys that know them. So when he got the job, he said, "Hey, come on down here." It was a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
That's what's up.
And
hey, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's interesting too because, think back to the guys that you played with. I mean, there's some great guys: Chris Henry, Adam Pacman Jones. Yeah. I mean, it's insane. Do you still hang out with Pacman or talk to anybody else on the team? Rashid Marshall.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Funny story about that. I hosted both of those two on a visit. Pacman straight out of Atlanta, Chris Henry straight out of New Orleans. So they're the only those two is Quincy. So
we have you to thank.
I went 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went 100% getting those guys. And actually, Pac was here a couple months ago for his big fight. Was down here in Charleston. That was a great event, and so it was good to see him. And of course, miss Chris Henry to death, man. Got a chance to play with him in West Virginia and at the Bengals. So, but Grant, I still talk to Grant Wiley. He's back up there. Some of our guys, Pat's, he has his national show. So West Virginia guys are doing some big things out here in the world right now.
Absolutely.
So were you the go-to guy for the recruiting trips? Were you the guy that was like, yeah, we got a big-time recruit?
They say you got to know a guy. I was that guy.
All right. There we go.
There we go. Was that the selling point back in the day? I mean, because now, no offense to the younger generations, but back in the day, downtown Morgantown and Morgantown in general was just straight poppin'. Like, was that like the selling point for you? Like, check out these parties, check out what's going on around here.
What we sold. And I know Kevin would say, you spend the first time with the coaches, and you kind of have a dinner, and it's kind of real nice, and you're kind of just, everyone's real stewdy, and then they kind of say, hey, take care of that guy. You know the ones they really take care of, and the ones you kind of are just on there on the visit. So now, granted, I haven't partied in Morgantown, but I doubt it's anywhere near where it used to be. When it's live.
Nowhere near. These young kids don't know.
They have no idea. And it's funny too, because I was reviewing an article earlier today when it was a flashback to the Virginia Tech game that I mentioned earlier, which after that game, dude, Morgantown was on fire. And I mean that literally. 127 fires were reported that night. Yeah. Like, there might have been some structure fires. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yeah. Well, that was the original burning couches. The year before, 2002, when we played down there. They were burning couches and doing stuff in Morgantown. So when we won in Morgantown, only fitting that we do it while we're on campus.
Where did that come from? Like, did somebody just light a couch on fire? It's like, yeah, this is it. This is what we're doing.
Well, there was a house. There was a house. I think sort of right there on the boulevard right there, and all these guys and Coach Rod actually stopped and sat in this couch.
Wow!
And it was one of those couches that no one could sit. They even put his plastered poster onto there. So it was like Coach Rod actually came and sat. So I think that kind of the couch and the burning kind of came from that.
Dope.
That makes sense.
That's what's up. Hey, I was because you're a West Virginia kid, right? Okay.
Yeah, grew up in Weird.
Okay, so how important was it for you to play at WVU? Did you get any other offers, or did you already know that you were going to WVU?
Growing up, it ain't like how it is now where high school games are televised. There's kind of only a couple schools that are on TV. So, Michigan, Notre Dame, Florida State. So I was a huge Florida State fan. Work Done was my guy. The Knowles, Charlie Ward. I was a big Florida State fan growing up. But as, I got into high school, actually going into my junior year, I got invited to a spring game. So I kind of, started following WVU from that and fell in love with it instantly. Got down there and, met the guys. Coach Nealon was still there. And so I was fortunate enough, went on some visits, but, it was important to me to stay home, and it worked out perfectly.
I'd say. It's what's interesting, too. Like, now we make such a big deal, like, about the Stills brothers, being from Fairmont, hometown boys. But back when you played, I'm, like, reviewing the roster going, oh, my God, I forgot about that guy who's from Clarksburg. Yeah. Or there was a guy from Grafton I went to school with, Travis Garrett, that was on the team. I mean, there were so many guys from West Virginia and the surrounding areas that were on the teams that you were on.
Well, you got to think, Coach Rod grew up at, North Marion High School. So, to him, he put an emphasis on let's get the best kids in West Virginia. Now, we're not a big state by no means, but, the years that we do produce, D1 talent, we can't let them go to these other schools.
Agreed. Now, it's interesting because I think, when was it? Coach Rod started coaching, was it 2001? 01, yeah. So in 2000, your freshman year, what was that transition like whenever you got a new coach in? Were you nervous about that? Did you not know how that, what was that like for you?
You know what? It was a little disappointing because, like I said, I did go to school, for Coach Nealon. And I know you don't go to schools for coaches. I always tell Kes I'm recruiting that now, but it was cool because Coach Nealon was kind of a golf cart guy, kind of chill, and then Coach Rod was a micromanager of everything. Like, even if your socks weren't right, he wow. So it was such a contrast because that's how my household was like that. If you go in my mom's house, you move something, she asks you why the hell did you move that? It's just one. People would have problems with Coach Rod. I never, because that's how I grew up. I was used to a micromanager and all that stuff. So it was exciting. And then that first year, we weren't really good, but the message never changed. He was just like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be the best. We're going to spot the ball. We're going to do, and always, consistency is great. When you're in college, especially, you're going through so many things. Are you playing? Are you not playing? Are you hurt? Not hurt? There's so many things that you go through, and for me, I had torn my ACL, so I was coming off surgery. So to me, I thought I had a clean slate. So it worked out perfect for me. Like knowing how they coached and being I get a chance to compete. For a starting job.
Seeing has the game changed so much since you were playing to the way it is now? The style of ball, style of running back. Like what would you consider your game? Like who would you compare your game to if you had to?
You know what? I was what would you say? You carry the ball a bunch. What do you call that? Bell count. That was the bell count. 30 times a game, 25, 35 times a game. And I love that. I was 220 pounds. That's what I worked for. Now's game is more running back by committee, a little bit more like that. So I probably fit in more like, Michigan runs the ball a lot, Wisconsin runs the ball, those downhill, I-back type of places because, the game now is to spread them out, speed game. It's about speed, which, these athletes are amazing now. I coach a bunch of them. I got to go to watch, the WVU Texas game this year, and just to watch some of the size of those guys and how they move. It's really amazing, and it's not that anybody of them could tackle me right now, but I think the mindset. We were grinded. We were a physicality. If you want to fight in the parking lot, we'll meet you in the parking lot too. I don't think these guys, not that they're soft, but I don't think they grow up.
Yeah, they're not about that life.
They're all Twitter. We go on Twitter, they're all friends.
Right?
I'm like, no way. Like I love Fitzgerald, but there was no way we were gonna be buddy buddies. And I knew those guys, but that's how it was. You had a mutual respect, but we damn sure ain't hanging out with you and all that kind of stuff. And these guys and that's cool, but it's a different era.
And by the way, you look incredibly in shape. Like you clearly still hit the gym every day.
Now, these guys keep me young. I with the guys, it's at the D2 level. We're academic counselor, we're the strength staff. We're kind of all that stuff. So I enjoy getting in there, working out with the guys.
You get in practice sometimes too.
Oh, the drills.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I always forget I don't have pads on, so I'll get in there. And coach, I'm like, hey, trust me, you guys can't hurt me. Don't worry. Sometimes if you want it done right, you got to really demonstrate it for them.
Absolutely. Now that we're talking about the transition into the way guys play now, we have to talk about it. Coach Brown now here at WVU, it's his third season. I think some people were disappointed, to say the least, even though I don't think it was a disappointment necessarily. I mean, he just got started really. But what are your thoughts on this team?
You know what? To me, they fought. They had the season that they had, but they could have easily packed it in. Anyone that knows football, or basketball, how easy it is to just say, you know what, we on the next year. And, they won those last two games, which showed me a lot. That's what, when someone asked me, I was like, well, I'm going to see what they're about in these last couple games. You have Texas, you have Kansas. If any one of those you lose, you can't go to a bowl. And they won those games. So is it ideal? Would you like to be 10-2 playing for the conference championship? Yeah, but, he's making progress. I mean, I think we got to give him some time. I think we're in a 15-minute cycle where we want things right now. We have to build. I think the recruiting class they got coming in. I think the skill position guys they got coming. We got to give them some time. And if we're still having the same talk after 5-6 years, then you kind of get that. But in year 3 plus last year with being COVID, to me, I think that's a wash anyway. So I more judge them by how they finished, and they finished strong to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I was. We were talking about before. How long do you think it takes to build a program where you're like, all right, we built long enough. We need to see results. How long do you think that takes for you, or is it just different every?
This as a basketball player, and you could testify this. If you're in New York City, the mecca of basketball, and you're recruiting, you're saying, hey, you expect to be good now.
Yeah,
there's talent, there's resources. I can go to Jersey, I can go to you're in the mecca of basketball. Now, if you're in Iowa, the resources aren't the same. Yeah. So I think one is where you're at. I think like for instance, who's the guy that just went to USC? He's going to be expected to win now. It's Southern California, it's Pac-12, it's USC. It's now the expectations are different. If you're at Kansas football, I will say, you come in there, they expect you to kind of be able to build and kind of be able to, and not that West Virginia's that, but with no major football teams and like I said, the state, we're not producing 10 or 15, Division I kids where we have to go out of state to get guys. It's going to take a little longer. And, with Coach Rod, it was that third year. We got some guys. We got lucky. Pat and them were all freshmen. Usually you're not playing freshmen and sophomores. But him, Steve, and all those guys they were freshmen that come up. So I think a lot of it's luck. You kind of get a kid that you didn't know was going to be good, and it comes on, and but like I said, I think in a place like West Virginia, it's a little bit different from if you're at Oklahoma or Texas, where they expect you to win right now because the resources are running 30 miles away from campus.
Right. That's
true.
No joke for sure.
You got to talk to these fans though, because they tough. They are tough. When you don't win.
Well, think of the guy in Nebraska. He's a alum, played there. And then people are fed up. We don't care how good you are. We want to win. We want to win. We want to win. We want to win now. We expect it. So I think when you're getting paid a lot of money, people have high expectations of you.
Yeah.
I think as long as you're showing progress every year, I think that's what these ADs are looking for. That's like you said, the fans. They want to win these games. And I think it's because maybe who we lost to this year. There's more of that because like you said, 6-6. And that's any other year we're saying, hey, we still get to go to a bowl, but I think it's the way. Some of the teams we lost to, or some of the teams the games that got away.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma, we're there.
Yeah.
We finally go get over the hump. So I think it's more the disappointment of, the games, not really the season. I think it's a culmination of all that stuff. Because we lost to the conference champs, to the team. We lost to some good teams. Not like we lost to the third ranked team. So. Yeah. I think having the Virginia Tech game was good. The atmospheres were good. Beating Texas at home, so there are positives there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious what your thoughts are, though, too, because we've been talking about this on the side outside the podcast. And I don't know whether it's a concern because I'm not a football player or maybe don't understand all the back end stuff of it. But the fact that we've had a couple people that decommitted and we've had a couple guys enter the transfer portal, are those concerns?
Oh, well, you always recruiting stuff.
Yeah.
And they even tried to make it easier for D1 by having this early signing period. See, basketball is kind of, and Kevin, you may could speak to this a little bit, but really your junior year, if you're a baller, you're kind of signing before your senior year of high school. Yeah. And football is kind of different. You kind of play your senior year, you can blow up, and some people can come in late. So say I offer you your junior year, you may rush for 3,000 yards the next year, and every school in the country wants you. So it's a little bit different, at the timing and with that. So it's different, but I think there's so many kids out there that we put these recruiting boards together where we're looking at 300, 400 kids. So if you do lose one, you probably have your top ranked guy, and then your top 10. And you kind of shoot for, hey, I want these top 5. So there's always a backup plan. To answer your question, it's a little disappointing, but it's just hard to keep these guys committed. Yeah. Especially when everybody can kind of Twitter and I can sign this top K in the country. He commits, he loves it, mom, dad loves it, and every single day someone on Twitter can just hit him. Hey, come here. Hey, come here. Yeah. Hey, come here. And then you're 17, 18 years old, especially in this NLI thing. Good Lord.
Yeah, that's so true.
There's so many things that are going on between the lines that really makes it hard. So anybody you sign, it's a blessing, really.
Yeah, I have to figure it'd be tough, like recruiting for football compared to recruiting for basketball, because there's so many more players, like it's so many more different positions you got to worry about. That it's right. Like how do you find somebody? It's so many players out there. Like you said, somebody could blow up in their senior year, and then now you weren't looking at them. Now they're on your radar. So it's hard. I feel like. Yeah.
Person, there could be some guys, and I kind of related to like West Virginia. Like, yesterday I watched some guy score 8 touchdowns yesterday. So he might not be on your radar before, but he scored 8 touchdowns. You got to look at him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So stuff that comes out of it that like that with that. But you just got to really sell your program. Sell your coaches, sell yourself, and make it so obvious to these kids that hey, I don't care who calls me. This is where I'm going. I'm committed, and you just do what you do.
Yeah.
Eat shit, Pitt.
I know you're not a quarterback guy, but since you're a coach, obviously you look at all positions. Nico, I can never pronounce his last name. I want to say it's Marchiol, but I don't know if that's correct. The quarterback that's coming into WVU next year.
Right.
What are your thoughts on him?
Oh, you know what? I think he's a very good quarterback, but it's also extremely, extremely tough to ask a freshman kid to come in and play. So hopefully, he is what is expected. I think he's supposed to come in December, so he'll get to go through spring and all that good stuff. So I think the worst thing we can do is have unreal expectations for the guy. Let's let him get in the system. Let him get some guys. Let's get some guys around him. We're losing a hell of a running back with Lemmy Brown. Those guys. Let's make sure in the skill positions that we have, guys around them. We know, especially if you watch, some of these schools, especially the NFL, they're always like, well, we have the quarterback, but we don't have anything around him. So let's make sure we're around him.
Sure.
He's lucky, that O-line's going to get to grow up in front of him. They're going to get some more starts in front of him, so that stuff. So he's coming into a good situation, but I think we also, we can't expect him to, be a 10-game winning guy next year as well.
Very true.
What do you think about Deggy? Because I think he's balled out, like you said. They had two options. They could pack it in. The team had two options. They could pack it in and give up for the rest of the season, or they could fight through it, which I think they did, and a big part of it was him. He balled out those last two games. So, I know people are very down on him. Even I seen he had a good game and people were down on him. I'm like, I think that he's going to improve. I mean, if he stays, I think he's staying, right, for next season. So, I mean, what do you think about that quarterback situation between them two?
I think the locker room is huge. And I would be, outside, as outsiders, our message boards people, we know what we see. We know practice, we know games, but the locker room, that's what, if I'm Neil Brown, if I'm there, I want to know, does he have respect in the locker room? And like you said, he does. Them guys play for him. Does things go right all the time? No, but the locker room likes the guy, and that's the most important, because I've been to some locker rooms where it's been divided, and we couldn't even get to a practice. So it's one of those deals where. If it only takes one guy or a couple guys, to fracture it all. So I think again, I think he's done what he's supposed to do. What I like, 35 touchdowns and no picks. Of course, play a great football conference. There are some great teams. There are some great schools, great universities, some tough atmospheres. Ask anybody that comes to Morgantown, they don't want to come here. And there's some great. I don't know if Ashley, if you've gotten to travel, but the Big 12 has some great places to go watch some football, especially football. So it's a great conference, and I think a lot of times, we just got to be happy with what we got, and and be happy if it's a 1-point win or a 30-point win.
True.
I couldn't agree more. But I'm curious, after we start watching Deggy play, there's no doubt in anybody's mind, this kid knows how to ball. There's no question about that. But I feel like watching him, I wonder if it's a mentality issue. You can kind of tell, when he gets behind the sticks, he starts to get hesitant about what he's doing. Do you think it's a mental block?
Not mental. I think a lot of times you want something to happen for you. And a lot of times football, especially quarterback, you're relying on your protection. You're relying on your receiver. Hey, I'm gonna throw you to the corner, and he runs to the corner. There's so much more. And especially with the higher level you go up, it's timing, it's expectation, and the quarterback is the hardest position to play on the field. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times it's not that he's hesitant. I think a lot of times he's trying to force stuff. Where, hey, all right, well, I trust my arm, I'm going to throw it. Well, in this league, that's going to get picked, or it's going to be dropped, or you have a perfect play on and we drop the ball. There's so many stuff that goes right back to him. We ain't going to say, well, Sam James dropped the ball, or this and that. And get the ball to this guy, and he needs to go. So, it's one of those positions. They're going to give you all the limelight when you're good, and they're also going to criticize you a bunch when you struggle, or if you're not getting the job done to what they think you're supposed to be getting it done to.
That's so true. It seems like the QB does take on the brunt of all of it. This is your fault.
Yeah. For real. And you want to surround them with around guys, and take the pressure off of him, and be a facilitator like the kid from Georgia. He's been a facilitator. Now, Alabama forced him to be a quarterback. You've seen the results with that. But all season, he's been a great guy. So you see the difference between the Bryce Brown, who kind of is a Heisman candidate, and then a guy who same position, both 12-1 teams, but the difference between a facilitator and a guy that they're really dependent on to make a play every time.
That's legit.
True. Yeah, I was wondering, man, with this whole NIL thing that you mentioned earlier, how do you think that would have changed? Do you think you'd have made a killing off of that when you were in school? Because I look back on stuff like that, and I'm like, yo,
knowing
like,
what
man,
what I know now, and to have that happen would have been awesome because I had such a great connection with being from the state. I knew those car dealership guys, and I knew this and I knew that, so. It'd been awesome, to be like, hey man, I'm gonna come sign some autographs for 2 hours. Well, here's this, here's that, So I kind of could have facilitated my own, stuff there. And like I said, it's West Virginia. It ain't gonna be Nebraska where someone signed you $1 million, but $1,000 in college
goes a long way.
is big money. Back then. If I could have been able to get some of that stuff, I think it's awesome for the kids. I think, hey, if you have earning power, cash in on it. You know what I mean? Now, I don't want to say, well, what about volleyball? What about that? Now, I think some of those girls are making more money than the guys. With some of these appearances and all this stuff. So I think it kind of evens the playing field. At our level, I don't think it's hit our level as much. D2, I think there's been, like I said, I think some of the girls have benefited more just because they look good. Someone wants, hey, here's these shorts, we'll pay you this, or here's these sweatshirts, we'll pay you this and that. So I think it evens the playing field. I hate, I think eventually they're gonna get to rank other stuff, but for now, I think if you have earning power, cash in. Like if Johnny Manziel, I think if he would have had that back in his day, he was a professional player at Texas, so I think a guy like John Football, he could have made a killing. I probably made a killing anyways, but it's been a legal killing.
That's why I joke. I was like, yo, these kids probably losing money going pro.
Right.
Do you think that hurts? Do you think that hurts us though? Like, in West Virginia where we may not have huge businesses with a lot of money, but, the bigger schools obviously do. Do you think that's going to have more of an effect on recruiting?
You know what? I think that's true, but I think WU, and I'm not saying they don't do this, but I think there's a way that they can kind of facilitate that as well. Like, they know the players in the state, and they can go to these big guys and say, hey, we got this, we got that. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Hey, there's a guy I've seen. I'm in Charleston. I see some guys on some billboards down here. So I think, for West Virginia, like I said, I don't think you're ever going to expect to be big, but hell, 5, 10, 50. $30,000 goes a long way. So, I think if some of them guys are get that, if you don't got to pay rent or, someone's taking care of your rent, and you're able to shoot mom some money back at home. I think it works out. I think
it also takes the pressure off of guys to look to go pro maybe earlier than what they would if they weren't in a better financial state. You know what I mean? So a lot of these guys can relax and be like, maybe I don't have to force myself to go before I'm ready. I can develop more and then now have a legit shot to have a career at the next level. So I think it's good for that as well.
Yep, it takes that one less stress, and we know how it is. When you got people calling you, not just mom, it could be anybody. I know at WVU, I dealt with our ticket requests. Some of these guys need 20 tickets. And like these people are on these kids, and they're living through them. So I think as long as there's a thing in place to say, hey, if you are doing this, if you are having people talking to you, this is what you do. As long as they're doing it the right way, and none of these kids don't get behind. Because I worry, I worry about the gambling aspect, but all this stuff with everything's a spread and all this stuff, and one kid making the wrong mistake, saying, "Well, hey, yeah, I can drop a ball. That's easy." And then it's snowballing to just something a lot worse. I just watched the documentary about that on I think Arizona State basketball, where one little mistake turned into this. He had to fear for his life. So I worry about that stuff, but I think as long as there's an educational piece to it, not just hey, if you're going to do that, we don't want to know about it type of aspect to it. I think it can work out, especially at WVU, because like I said, people love our Mountaineers. So I think it's I think if any place, I would sell that in recruiting. You're going to come to a place where these people are going to love you 20 years when you graduate. They're going to say, hey, I remember you when you did this, and when you played against Pitt, I remember that. So yeah, like I said, you said 03. People still talk about that run.
Damn right we do.
Last year.
We're proud of that run.
Real. Yep. And that's what makes our fans great. So, and like I said, I hope they use that in recruiting because it's a great tool.
It's interesting, too, that you brought up the whole gambling aspect because we see it so much. I think it was at the beginning of the season. I can't remember what it was about. But anyways, long story short, Dude, the hate just came through instantly, and people are like, no, these aren't, Mountaineer fans, yeah, we can get down, but we're not like that, like death threats and stuff like that. Turns out, like, these people are like professional gamblers, have nothing to do with the state of West Virginia, but are coming at these kids with death threats. I mean, what is going on?
Yeah, it's tough, and again, you just got to educate them, and it can't be something you do in camp, and you never let it go. It's a weekly reminder, but hey, this is the that, this is the that. Look for this, look for that. Look for people who are just kind of starting off, just wanting to be your friend, and then kind of sort of asking you questions. Hey, is Daggy hurt this week? Just give these kids the tools for success.
Sure. So, and along with the new NIL rule, there's also the transfer portal now that wasn't around before either, which is impacting negatively in a negative way, because now you got guys transferring, they can play right away, so there's no incentive for them not to leave. Like, it's like, stuff is going hard, like you said, old school, you fight through it if things aren't going your way, and you get better from it. But now it's like, one thing goes wrong, it's like, all right, that's it, I'm transferring, and you can do it now and play right away. What you think about that?
I think the original plan I liked. Say, I'm from West Virginia. I like Florida State. I go to Florida State. I'm down there. Something happens back home. I have to go back home. I shouldn't be penalized a year because, my mom has gotten a wreck or has cancer or whatever. So I get the original portal idea. Where they fail to see is now people challenge it. So say, Kevin, you want to go back, to the crib, and you're like, well, you let him go. Okay. All right. Well, we'll let you play. Well, he can't play. So it kind of, we're in this, NCAA was kind of in this catch-22. What they did is say, hey, let's just make it a portal, and then if you want to go, you can go. So I think, and like I said, back then, it was only about 500, 600 kids. They were in the portal. Now it's over 8,000. So it's gotten out of control, and I think eventually down the road, I know now it's hurting high school recruiting. I got kids right now. I've been on the road all last week. I was in Pittsburgh and Eastern Panhandle and a little bit of that, and these kids are like so excited to see me, a Division II coach, because these other guys, hey, they were talking to these guys up front. Now they don't. Now they're not talking to them, and this is that. So I think the portal's a mess. I think it helps schools like West Virginia and these guys. I think they just signed some guy from Clemson the other day. I was reading. So I think as long as you use it right, you filter through these guys, because we also got to remember these guys are transferring for a reason. And you're not just picking up a guy to pick up a guy. Doing your homework, and and it can impact your program, but it can also set your program
I actually
back.
saw this morning, I think Ohio State's quarterback entered the transfer portal after he made like $1 million in like likeness fees and stuff like.
Right.
I'm confused. It's not like Ohio State's a bad team.
So they're out there, and like I said, it can impact you, but it can also be a double negative. Because like I said, you're bringing a kid in. Say I've had a kid that's been there for 2 years, done everything I've asked. Grills are great, just that, and I'm bringing this guy, and I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna put him in front of you like that. So it kind of can set a negative tone with that. But like I said, I think if it's used right, I think it can help for sure.
That's for certain.
So now that you're a coach, man, seeing things from a player perspective and seeing things from a coach perspective, like, what's that feeling like to actually, coach a guy and see him get better? I'm sure that's one of the greatest feelings in the world.
Yeah. Awesome, because like they said, the light finally comes on. And of course, I coach a running back position where only one guy can play. So obviously, I have 6 guys in my room, so 5 guys are watching another guy play. So you have to be creative and telling these guys, well, listen, where you earn your playing time is practice. Okay, when we do individual drills, when we do inside drills, because I like to rep all my guys. So, it ain't just one of these things where we're just going to watch the best guy play and all you guys learn from watching. So make sure you take advantage of your opportunity. Take advantage of it, especially with COVID. COVID has taught us that we can come in here one day, we all feel good, and somebody can say, well, you failed the COVID test, quarantine for 2 weeks. You're like, well, I feel fine. You know what I mean? So it happened that fast. So making sure these guys are ready, making sure they're doing it. I think these kids are smarter now. where they pick up on stuff. I think when I was growing up, I wasn't gonna go in Coach Rod's office and say, "Hey man, I'm trying to play." You know what I mean? You're like you earn it, you do what you got to do. But these kids will be in your office and they will one after a couple practices that they're not repping, and they will, "Hey, well, Coach, I want to know. It's been a couple days. What's up?" And I like that because hey, okay, well, this is why. You got to tell them the why. These kids need to know the why. So I think as long as you're honest with them, you're telling them, well, this is the reason why you're not playing, or I think you can do this better. I think you can do this better. Keep doing this. I think as long as you're straightforward with them and they see and they trust you, as long as they trust you, you're all right. You're going.
I was kind of curious if that was a thing, because it kind of seems like it a little bit, especially with the transfer portal. It's like, ew, you won't let me play. I'm going to leave, like it seems so whiny baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's petty.
Everybody's
it's
very
petty.
Empowered now. They see it and they're like, oh yeah, I have a voice. Like, you know what I mean? Where before it was just like you were kind of scared to talk to the coaches.
And I think there's that false hope that as soon as I hit the portal, well, there's going to be 10 schools waiting for me. So I think in their minds, hey, I'm gonna put this video on Twitter. I'm gonna make it shine, and I'm most of it's practice clips. You know what I mean? But they're doing their thing. I can't hate, and they think these schools are just going to be knocking down their doors. And a lot of these kids are finding out the hard way that, that grass ain't always green.
These are facts. And I wish more people understood that, because that's so true in every part of life, let alone sports. Like, you should be thankful you're at a D1 school, or even a D2 school, because, honey, you might not get to play at all,
Especially a top school.
Exactly.
Like, especially top 25 school.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I get the quarterback realm. If you're a quarterback, you can't, you want to be backup. I get that. I get that all. But a backup running back who is a sophomore that's like not playing, I'm like, come on, brother. Your time is coming.
Yeah.
Like, stop.
Calm down a little bit. I'm curious too. So since we've also seen this craziness with like the Power 5 conferences and how there's been a lot of switch up transitions. Now they're talking about, eventually, God knows, we'll probably end up like the NFL, AFC, NFC sort of type of thing. But with the Big 12, hate to say it, but losing Texas and Oklahoma is a big loss for us. Do you think that West Virginia would be better off staying in the Big 12, or do you think we should try to go to another conference?
Well, here's the thing. And I'm sure they've tried to get in the ACC or tried to get in the Big Ten before, but you have these schools. It's kind of what ended the Big East. You have these schools that are big basketball. So Big East problem was the basketball schools. Georgetown and all those guys had just as much of a vote as Rutgers and those football schools. So, when we had chances to expand, I think we could have got Penn State or one of those guys back then. They were like, well, no, this is a basketball school. This is a basketball conference. This is a basketball conference. So Miami and, I think Virginia Tech, Boston College, they left. They're like, well, we're going to ACC. But I think now schools are finding out where the money is good. Granted, I think, and if anyone that's been to Morgantown can see, we have reaped the benefits of the Big 12. There's the facilities, the basketball facility is amazing. The football facility is amazing. The baseball stadium, I know that there's a better one out there. And they just built a track. So the money's good. But like with anything, it comes with a cost, and, I think, for, football, they fly charter planes, we stay in a 5-star hotel. Basketball, Kevin, you can speak to that. You may have to spend a week out in Kansas, play Kansas State and come home, or play Baylor, so it's a little bit more stressful on your non-Olympic sports. We play one game a week, and every other week we're traveling. So it's not as much stress on football, with that. But I think it's more the – so, I think if you did get an ACC, logically it makes more sense. But, and then at the end, for these guys, and it's always been, about how much money can we get for this, how much can we do for that. So I'm more on the sites. I think certain sports should be able to play in certain sports. So why can't West Virginia play in Big East basketball? I think let people do that, and then you kind of say, well, hey, we want to form our conference, we want to do this, we want to play in ACC or whatever, and they vote for that. Let us do that instead of just saying, kind of how some sports do it now. I think Georgetown's the Big East, but football they're FCS. So just give people the option. If it makes more sense, for your volleyball team to be in the MAC, then play in the MAC. I think our soccer team does that. So I think that would help a school like us a little more because most of our rivals are on this side of the country. We could play Cincinnati, we could play Marshall, we could play all those guys, and it's a bus trip, and it saves. And in essence, you're saving your athletic budget, the money, anyways, and your fans are more into it. And I don't think you can ask your average Mountaineer fan, are any of these schools our rivals?
No.
No, maybe, but so. It's on one side, people are going to come because they're fans, but you want these Pitt game coming up. That's going to be crazy. Virginia this year was crazy. I didn't get to go to the game, but I heard the atmosphere was insane. So that's what if I'm an AD, that's what I'm pushing to my fan base. Hey, we're going to give you every home game is going to be exciting, and we're at least going to give you 4 or 5 road games. That you can,
I think people forget too. I mean, it's
a
little bit different now that we're in the Big 12. Granted, we've got fans all over the country. We show out no matter where we're at. But when we play a team on the East Coast, dude, you really see it. They are there.
Oh yeah. I mean, we had just this year basketball.
Exactly,
we had more fans in there than anybody. Was it? I think South Carolina, Charleston. So. Yeah, so we travel, but like I said, a lot of our fan base are in these places, South Carolina, especially Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte is a big hub. Anytime I always see the WV down there. So, but like I said, it'd be good to really market to your fan base that this is. We're thinking about you. We're not just thinking about the money. We're thinking about you and the Joe Schmo who pays to come to the games.
I think most of our rivals are in the ACC now. A lot of the guys from like you got Pittsburgh, you got Syracuse, you got Notre Dame, you got all these guys that are in the ACC right now. So it makes the most sense why we wouldn't be in that conference. And like you said, it's split it up where at least the basketball could be in that conference. Because like you said, the trip is different for basketball. You come back, sometimes you stay on the road for like a week, and sometimes you come back at like 3 a.m, and now you got to go to class at 8 o'clock class in the morning, and they don't want to hear you tired or nothing like that. You got to go to class. So I think it makes sense for everybody to do it that way, like you said. Definitely.
And like you said, who's to say, let's form our own conference. Get the band back together. Let's say, hey, go to these presidents and say, listen, what is your athletic budget? What is your athletic budget? What if we all 12 got together and played, just played? And I think maybe not in the next couple of years, but it's going to be a regional sport, football at least, where it's going to be the South, there's going to be the Northeast, Midwest, and the West Coast, and the best 65, 68 teams are going to kind of play, and they're going to kind of branch off from the rest of these Conference USAs and Sun Belts and say, hey, we're going to do it because, poor Cincinnati.
Yep.
They've done everything they're supposed to do, and they're not going to make the playoff because, can we get Michigan? That's traveling. That's money. Can we get Ohio State? Can we get Notre Dame? There's 8 schools they're going to pick that have losses. You know what I mean? And the way you justify is you say,
which is so wrong. I mean, what else do these teams have to do? What do you got to do?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I think more of that. If I had my one sports wish, I'd say, hey, if I'm the head of WVU, I'm saying, hey, I'm bringing Pitt, I'm bringing Syracuse, I'm bringing Penn State. I'll go after some of them guys and say, hey, let's play this East Coast thing, and let's put out the best product that we can out there.
Is that a flawed system? The college football players, is that a flawed system? Because like you said, like you got a team like Cincinnati who did everything that they can do, and they're still probably not going to make the playoffs. So like, what do you do? Like, how can you overcome that?
Well, I think the biggest misconception people realize that the college football playoff ain't even an NCAA thing. It's their own separate thing. Yeah, NCAA is the bowl system. So if you're a normal person that, hey, well, this is the NCAA. It's not the NCAA. The college football playoff, it's its own thing. So those 4 teams that go back, they don't play for a national championship. They play for the college football playoff championship.
Wow, so that makes sense.
So those 4 games, that's why they made it 2 games, because they can profit off the semifinal and the final. And then the NCAA say, okay, well, we'll keep the New Year's 6, your Orange Bowls and your Sugar Bowls and all that stuff. Then other bowls were like, well, that's not fair. You got to rotate. So the big guys don't get to do it, but it switches. So it is a flawed system, yes, where like I say, at Cincinnati, your best bet is a New Year's 6 bowl. you're not going to be able to play in the college football playoff, which is it's a tragedy.
That breaks your heart. Those poor kids. You know what I mean? Come on.
You're pretty much recycling the same teams. Pretty much. You're gonna have your Alabamas. You're gonna have your Clemsons. Maybe you're gonna have your blue.
Your Michigans, your Ohio States.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So.
I'll tell you guys this. I did a diversity conference, Big 12. They do a great job of just, sending this stuff. So I went to this conference in Texas, and every representative had representative. And I asked the president, I asked the commissioner from the Big 12. I was like, well, why can't the bowl system, even if it doesn't, so say the Cotton Bowl or even the Monty Carey, whatever the worst bowl, why don't we have a system where they get to pick the best of the best? So say you're a Charlotte Bowl or whatever it is, they get to pick an SEC team and a Pac-12. They get to pick the best bit instead of right now. Every bowl has a conference affiliation. So SEC plays Big Ten plays et cetera, et cetera. But if I'm Detroit, I don't want two MAC teams playing. I want to see if I can get Michigan and Ohio State to come play in our bowl game. Or if I'm in at the West Coast, I don't care if Florida State comes here. I want USC and a team out west to come. So I think there's a way to do the system where everyone can kind of eat, as they say. But if I'm Cincinnati, and you say you won't let me go, well then all right, we do get the Orange Bowl, we do get this, we do get that, and we get to do that with that. So I think there's a way to save the bowl system and still kind of make everybody happy. But I think eventually, if I'm Alabama, they should have to play.
Yes.
These non-Power 5 schools. Don't schedule Campbell and don't schedule these SEC. Don't schedule these FCS teams. Make these Power 5 teams play. So now they get their shot. And hey, if they don't win, they don't win. But at least there's some correlation. There's some correlation to it. And I know scheduling. They always say scheduling this and that. People buy out of contracts all the time. So I don't want to hear, they just fired what's his face. They pay these coaches $18 million not to coach. So don't say you don't have money, So I think there's a way to get that. So where Cincinnati can say, well, they played Notre Dame and they played Baylor, So now your schedules match up, So it could be beneficial and it kind of will even itself out by just playing because that's how the NFL does it. Everyone plays everybody, and the best 8 make the playoffs. It ain't just the AFC gets to play this and the NFC. It's not like that. So I think we can get a better system.
Do you think it's feasible to have a tournament like the NCAA tournament like basketball has? Because, obviously the game is much more physical in football than it is basketball, longer recovery time and everything. Right. But do you think it's feasible to have that, maybe not 65 teams, but maybe a less amount of teams and have that each week?
Yeah. At our level, we play, if you can play all your games, you can be 15. You can play up to 15 games in a season, which I think is just about the max what you play, which, I think the semifinals are today, and then the championship is down. I think they take 2 weeks off to give them kind of a break for the championship. So I think there's a way. I wouldn't play 12 games. I'd play 11, but I'd make week 12 kind of like the first round of the playoffs. As they per se. So instead of having these conference championship games where these teams are playing repeat games, all this stuff, make that week 12, the first round of the playoffs. So like you said, Kev, get your best 16 or even match up the best 8 Power 5 against the non-Power 5, okay? And see where they rank. And then kind of, I think 13, 14 is about the max. But if we do a championship week, we kind of get the
that's much more exciting, man. At least you get some parity. You know what I mean? Now every year who's gonna be in the bowl games.
As when you sell this championship week,
that's crazy,
playoff
man.
top 16. I only want 20. I don't even want it all. Just I'm doing it as a fan. But we freak it like that. But there's a way. But like I said, do some crossovers. Like make the Pac-12 play the MAC champion, and the MAC champion play the Big 12. Make it that. Have that kind of that first round. Not saying they're eliminated. Still keep your bowls, and I think your bowl games can be like your next round games. Okay, so now this Little Caesar Bowl and all these bowls that draw 5,000 now. Well, hell, Nebraska and North Carolina are playing in this game. Now, I think it benefits everybody, and it keeps everyone
Quincy
kind of
Wilson
happy.
for football president. I mean,
for
I'm
real.
just
That's
saying.
what I'm saying, man. We're gonna stay in contact. We gotta talk some behind the scenes stuff, man.
My bro.
Yes.
ESPN.
Yeah, we got a lot of good ideas going on right now.
We're getting kind of late into this conversation, but there's something we have to ask you because we ask everyone that comes onto the podcast. Your favorite or best memory at WVU out of everything?
Oh,
It could be off the field or on the field.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
whatever.
I'm
Doesn't
gonna
matter.
say official visit was the Ohio State game where we played WVU. It was with Katzmore and all that stuff. And just the atmosphere. I've never seen the most electric atmosphere. And like I said, that's when I fell in love with WVU. So my first, like I said, I'd gone to some games. It was a spring game and that kind of stuff. But that atmosphere when they were playing Ohio State was crazy. I was like, yep.
That
this is where I'm
electric
coming.
atmosphere.
So, that was definitely. If I have to pick one, and then of course my close second would of course be some of the games we played. Of course Virginia Tech. I like beating Pitt, but I think my rival was Virginia Tech. I really couldn't stand the Hokies, and they were really good, really good. So it made it really really special beating them a couple times.
And his third favorite memory was meeting me on the field a few weeks ago.
Yeah, okay. We believe that.
He didn't say
I was
his
gonna say that.
nightmare, Dave.
I didn't want to be accused as a homer.
That's fantastic.
One more question before you go, man, because you did make it professional, you did make it to the NFL, and you did play in a very, very prestigious football school, WVU. So, what do you tell these guys when you're coaching them about the professional life, or maybe you have some guys who have aspirations, or even maybe somebody who has unrealistic aspirations. So, yeah. So, what do you tell them?
Well, first and foremost, I tell them, if you want to play in the league, play. As you can see, I'm 5'9", 225 pounds, and I made it. At a AA school in Weirton, West Virginia. Didn't play at Notre Dame, played at West Virginia. So if that's your goal, then shoot for your dreams and do it. Now, it becomes my goals to see, well, how can I get you to that guy? Okay, so how can I make you the best player you can be? And I tell guys, that may not be the league. That may be CFL. Maybe XFL, and maybe just be an all-conference guy, but I want to get you to get to your best potential. And I tell my guys about my experience. Did I want to play 10 years and make millions of dollars? Hell yeah. But I got to play in the NFC Championship game. I got to play in some playoff games. I got to play 4 years. If I can live to 55, I'm going to get a pension and a 401k and checks.
That's
stuff.
dope.
So, that's my reality. That was my football dream, and all I want to do was play, get to the league. I got drafted, so – of course, only 32 guys can be first round picks, and only this every year. So, don't let that be your goal to say, well, I didn't do that. Hey, if you get picked up on the practice squad, you made it to the league.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you did this, you made it to this. So whatever your dream is, and I always tell them, your first goal should be to graduate. I want you to graduate, and get that degree, because a lot of these guys that we're recruiting, they're the first people in their families to even go to college.
Oh, wow.
So that's heavy. So I always make sure I put that in their mailbox. That, listen, you got a chance to be the first generational college graduate and play ball and do this. So I would say keep your mind on the goal. Keep your mind on the goal. Don't let the outside back, because it's too easy. You can go on Twitter and say, oh man, look at this and look at that. That's not reality. And I tell them, your rappers already tell you it ain't reality, and they still don't listen.
Yeah,
That's so true.
They still don't listen. So I don't know what to tell them, man.
That's true, man.
Help spread the word about our podcast. Leave us a review and tell a friend.
Well, Quincy, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a great
man,
conversation.
Really appreciate it, for sure.
An hour that fast, man. Jeez whiz.
Yeah,
man. Time flies when you're having fun, man.
Yeah.
Right. Well, definitely. Well, definitely appreciate it, and look forward to talking to you guys again.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and if you have, what?
I was just going to say we definitely need to have you back on throughout next year too, when you have time between coaching and stuff.
Well, if you do a tournament special about the basketball, I do. I ain't a pick guy, but I can kind of do my 2 cents in there. So if you have a kind of a tournament special podcast, I'm all in.
There we go. I love it. Quincy Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There we go.
Yes. Another edition of the Final Fourcast with me, one of your co-hosts, Ashley, my boy Kevin Jones.
Yup.
John will join us hopefully next week. Dave, our producer, with us today.
That's me.
And again, huge thank you to you, Quincy Wilson.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it.
Stay safe out there.
Sir.